Hello and welcome to the Keep It Local Maine podcast, where we tell the stories of local business owners and Maine residents and learn more about what they do, who and what inspires them, their challenges, successes, and more. My name is Todd Regoulinsky.
And I am Kimberly Regoulinsky.
And we are the publishers of Keep It Local Maine, a local magazine that helps showcase local businesses to the people in and around their communities. Thank you for tuning in to our weekly podcast that you can subscribe to on Podbean, Apple Podcasts, and Spotify. You can learn more about us at keepitlocalmaine.com and follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram through the links in the show notes. In this episode, we'll be talking with us. That's right, we are going to be interviewing each other. It is now time to celebrate our first full year of podcasting.
Are we recording right now?
Yes, we are recording
Woohoo!
right now. Okay, I'll have to take that down a couple notches.
Hold on. Let me just take this.
Hold on, what?
Can I take this call real quick?
No.
She's at a conference. It's the only time I can take it. Just give me 1 minute.
In true small business fashion, we had to pause this in order for Kim to take a call because that's just the sort of business that we are in. So I was looking at the past year and had some thoughts that I wanted to share with Kimberly. Did you realize in the last year, since we've been doing this podcast, roughly, because we have missed a few weeks here and there in terms of uploading episodes, but this being episode 53, this is officially a year's worth of podcasts plus one. Since we started podcasting, we have started a new issue, our Westbrook issue. We've moved into our new office space, which is a huge deal for me because I'm out of the basement, which is still a bit odd that I see sunlight on days. I'm still not quite used to it. We have moved our house. We have moved from one town to another. And we're still in Maine. Don't anybody panic. It's still truth in advertising. We are local in Maine. But we have moved homes. Our daughter has moved schools. And we have celebrated 17 years of being married.
Yes.
And after a year of podcasting and us having to go through these podcasts, that's even more remarkable,
That's huge.
honestly.
That's a huge, huge win right there.
Especially when you consider out of those 17 years, we have done this business for just about 7 of them. And then before that, we worked somewhat together because I was a freelancer working for you for several years before that. So we've managed to make it through the majority of our marriage working together.
Kids, I would not try this at home.
And there's no shallow graves in a backyard anywhere where one of us just suddenly doesn't show up anymore and nobody asks any questions about it. So what I'm trying to say is we're really celebrating some wins for this episode.
Yes. Those are some big wins.
I think they are.
Yeah.
I think trying to be a little less sarcastic about it, but I think those are. It's very difficult to be married, to work together, and to also do a podcast together and all of these things, and to not get sick of each other. So congratulations on not being sick of me.
Yes, congratulations to you too.
People are listening to this now going, what have I tuned into? But, it's nice to have a little full disclosure. So we are going to interview ourselves because this is how we started off this podcasting journey with the first episode, interviewing each other. We do have different questions. So, Kim, I believe your question is the first.
So what has been the most surprising part of podcasting for you?
I think for me, it's been the stories, which isn't all that surprising. I think the fact that the stories have been, even though each story is unique to that person and that person's journey, business, art, whatever, that there are a lot of similarities. And that after we've recorded 50 odd episodes of this, it's really easy to start seeing some of those similarities and how people have their journeys. There are some common threads that you can draw, and that you start hearing similar stories from people just taking place at different times in different areas in different ways. That's kind of been the surprising thing for me, even though it really should be pretty obvious, but that is the thing that kind of stands out to me. What about you?
Yeah, I would say definitely the stories. I mean, just how inspired I have been to hear just the wide array of stories from people, business owners, local people, to musicians, to, corporate leaders. I feel like every time we get to hear someone's story, we get to take a part of that and even apply it to our own lives. We get to hear their wins, and I always leave very inspired when I get to hear other people's stories, just how they've gone through what they've gone through and changes that maybe they had to make. And I guess that's been really the big part for me, is just the takeaway of people's wins, just how inspiring that's been.
I will second that. All of it. So how has this changed your perception of business and business owners?
So I think as far as business owners, we're all just trying to do the best that we can. Everybody's just trying to do the best that they can. They're trying to get up each day and really do their best. And sometimes we make mistakes. We're not robots. We fail. We have failures. And I think that just looking at that, business owners and how they've been able to persevere even through just what we've gone through in the past year, those failures, and how they've been able to pivot. I think that being a business owner is not for the faint of heart. You pour your blood, sweat, and tears into it. And at the end of the day, you're the one that's accountable. You're the one that's accountable for putting food on the table and for making sure things are done. So it's definitely, it's just given me a broader perspective of what it takes to be a business owner and the challenges that business owners have to go through and that sort of thing.
I think for me, to separate out business and business owners, it's made me think of business in somewhat different terms. I really feel like I think of businesses in terms of stories now, just from hearing so many stories and what has been the journey of this business and how has it gone from here to there and where is it going next. Whereas before, because of my place in our business, so a little bit of background, if someone happens to be stumbling in on this on episode 53 and knows nothing about us, first of all, welcome. We appreciate you stopping by, and we hope that you'll enjoy this. But Kim is the sales portion of our business and is the shining, radiant, gorgeous face of Keep It Local Maine that everybody knows and loves. And I am on the graphics, like kind of execution side. Like I'm the one doing the stuff and doing the print layout and designing ads and stuff like that. And I tend to hide away in my office, and I'm quite happy that I'm not the bright, shining face of Keep It Local Maine, and that most people have no idea of what I look like unless they've happened to see the one or two photos of me that somehow that Kim manages to sneak out onto social media. I'm quite happy with that. So for me, I think of business in very kind of tactical, not black and white, because we design in color. It's very much in a, how do I convey these things? I have a checklist of things to do that I need to include in this ad, and I could think of businesses very easily in that way. Whereas now, I think much more about the narrative of the business and what's gone on behind the business, and it's made business a lot more personal for me. And I feel like that's a bit of the nature of just how it works for me, because you get a chance to talk to all the people and you get a chance to really get in depth. Whereas for me, when we're doing an issue, I'm dealing with anywhere from 20 to 40 different people. And I don't necessarily have time to get into all of that, and I don't have the venue for that a lot of the times. I'm dealing with just, how can I make your business look good in print and online? Where now I think a lot more about that, and I've come to recognize a lot more of that, and I've incorporated the people we've talked to into that information into when I talk to them via email, and I think more about that, and it's kind of helped flesh out my perception of business into make it more human, I guess, which is weird. You would think that having done this long, but I do everything by email, so it's not necessarily always connecting a face with the person I'm talking with. Again, I'm thinking about their ad, and I want to make the ad as great as possible. And as far as business owners, I guess I said I was going to separate those two out, and it goes the same. I now think of people more as people, which is really showing my introvertedness right there.
Yeah, for sure.
But it is. This has been so much fun for me to actually be able to connect those dots,
right,
without having to be in a room full of people, which frightens me.
Yeah, that's good. So what has been the most fun part, would you say, of podcasting?
You know, it's been having a chance for us to show our personality a little bit. Mm-hmm. Because you're very conscious of making sure you have a favorite side when you take photos. You want to make sure I use the right photo. I always hear, which photo are you going to use? Right before, and we were talking about this even before, what's the screenshot going to be used? I think you ought to use this one. I'm just like, send me whatever photo you want me to use. Mm-hmm. I don't particularly care. Most of the time I could have my eyes closed in it, and you're just like, I look fantastic in this one. Use that.
We're using it.
You know. Meanwhile, my eyes are closed. I have a weird expression on my face, and I've got a pimple. You know, the size of a golf ball.
But I look good.
Exactly. But Kim looks fantastic. The weave is on point. The makeup is there. Everything is great. Run with it. And I'm okay with that. Because, again, I'm not the bright, shining face of Keep It Local Maine. But I think it's been good. It's been a lot of fun for us to show our personality and to, I don't want to say brand because that's such a thing, you know, but it's fun to incorporate who we are more into the business and to show people that, show or, you know, so they can hear it. Mm-hmm. One of these days will be on video, but again, Kim needs to be on point, and to make sure that's, you know, we need to have better lighting in my office in order to make
makeup artist on staff.
Yeah, that's so that'll be coming in 2025. So you can look forward to that in a couple of years, and by then we'll be on to it won't even be video online anymore. It'll be like beamed directly into our brains. Yeah. But that's been one of the most fun things for me, and just watching you get more comfortable doing this and enjoying yourself. I think those have been the really fun parts for me. What about you?
Yeah, I think I feel like our podcast, we laugh a lot, and I feel like
mostly at ourselves, which is good.
But no, I feel like a lot of our guests, 90% of our guests, I feel like most of them had never been on a podcast before, and that was really, really fun for me to see these people that were so nervous about being on a podcast, and just seeing them open up and laugh and be comfortable and just laughing. I feel like we do a lot of laughing on the show. And so that has been really fun for me. Laughter is good. It's good medicine. And so just I feel like every time we do a podcast, we get to laugh. And so that has, laugh with our guests. I feel like that's been, probably the funnest part for me.
I try to bring the chuckles because then you like to cry during podcasts.
I do cry. You know what? I do cry. I've cried a lot.
I'd say, you like to throw out that 90% of the people we've had on have never done podcasts. I would say a good 20% of the podcasts you cry.
I don't know about that. Oh, maybe.
Yeah.
Those stories can get touchy.
There's a couple times you didn't actually say it on the podcast, but I looked over and you're wiping your eyes, and you've got a little snot bubble action going on, and it's starting to devolve.
Holding back the ugly cry.
It's starting to devolve into that point like, oh boy, this is going to be a mess here in a second.
Yeah. So yeah, that's been really a joy for me is having people on and just watching them just let down their guard and just share their story and laugh. Yeah. So what has been the biggest lesson that you've learned over the past year?
Okay, first of all, that was my question.
Oh crap.
That's in my color. So
okay, go.
But no, we're going to leave that in.
No,
because that's a thing. Like, you know what? This episode here, I might not even edit it at all. We should have just done this one live.
So what's been the biggest lesson that you've learned over the past year? The
biggest lesson that I've learned, I guess it's just that all skills will come in handy if you look hard enough. Mm-hmm. All the skills that you have learned in your life, if you look hard enough and you look for the opportunities, you can utilize them. Because, great example, or not so great example, I've forgotten all of my high school math. It's at some point I apparently erased that part of my brain, and now our daughter's in high school and doing high school math. I don't know what's going on. I go
hide in the closet. I can't.
I got no idea. I don't know I don't even know how to use a graphing calculator. No idea.
No.
So, but if you look for opportunities to use those skills, you'll find them. And doing these podcasts has just reinforced for me that all the time I spent editing audiobooks, all the time that I spent doing college radio, all the time I spent, even in doing audiobooks, not necessarily the editing and the proofing and all of that, but working with someone that was in another room that I couldn't see, that I'm just talking to over a microphone, and they've got their microphone and headphones, and making them feel at ease and trying to keep their energy up. And all of those skills that I learned, because I was, again, as an introvert, that's not my natural thing, is to be all, hey, let me try and be conversational. And no, I'm much more likely to be hanging out reading a book in the corner. But having to learn those skills comes in handy when you're doing a podcast. And it all kind of comes together in terms of pulling this thing into a thing. Even though I kind of vaguely knew that from doing podcasting a little bit before this has been a great example, because it's not the same person every single week that I'm talking with.
Right.
It's new people always coming in and trying to, again, make them feel comfortable like we do, because, you're so welcoming just in general. That's natural.
Thanks.
But at least I feel much more comfortable being welcoming and outgoing when they're in one place and I'm in another and they can't see me. It just makes me feel so much more comfortable. And again, that says a lot about me, and I'm working through that.
Yep.
But it is just reassuring to know, like, oh, all those skills do come together. As long as you look for those opportunities to use them, you can find them.
Right.
And how about you? What has been your biggest lesson that you've learned in this past year?
Oh, gosh. So many. I think, the phrase, this too shall pass. I think in business and you can have those times where it's really hard, and you have to get out of that mindset of it's just going to continue to be hard. And I think trying to surround yourself with people that kind of get what you're going through can help build you up in those times as a business owner, other entrepreneurs, other business owners. And that's one thing that I was very thankful for in the past, year and a half is, I was part of a publishers group of just with some amazing people that we really came together and were supportive of each other. We shared ideas. And that was really cool, because you could look at us as, all kind of competitors, right? Because we're all in the same field. We're all selling advertising. We all publish. But if you can kind of put that mindset aside and just look at people, as other business owners, it's just amazing really what can happen. And so I had the privilege of being part of this publishers group with, Carolyn Delaney, who is the publisher of Journey magazine. She's doing absolutely amazing, amazing things in the community. She is such a gift to Maine. And also Heather Chandler, who's the owner and the publisher of the Sunrise Guide, as well as Green Maine Homes. And also Stan Rintz, who is the publisher of the Maine Brew and Beverage, Activity Maine, and Race Maine. And just being able to surround myself and be in a group of just like-minded people and other business owners, other publishers, I think that's huge. I think it's huge to be able to just have those people in your corner, people that can get what you're going through in the good and the bad and the ugly. It's been a huge learning lesson. So if you are a business owner or an entrepreneur, that is what I would say is get your people. Get your people that will kind of hold you up, hold you accountable, and walk alongside you as you're on your journey with your business, and that can lend an ear and advice and wisdom and encouragement. I mean, that's really huge. You need that in business. I think we all need that.
True. Very, very true.
So since you've been podcasting for a year before we started, the Keep It Local Maine podcast, what advice would you have for someone thinking of getting into podcasting?
I would say give it some thought. Actually examine why you want to do it, what you're looking to accomplish, what you want to talk about, and what really is going to interest you enough to want to do this every week or every other week or whatever interval you want. Most podcasts are weekly. I think there are some that are bi-weekly. You might even have some that are monthly. And if your content is good enough, the audience will be there waiting for your next episode. But think about what it is that you want to do, and is it something that is exciting enough to you, that you are passionate about enough to want to do over and over and over and over again. Because it's not just a quick and easy thing. There's a lot of work to it. There's a lot of behind the scenes work to it. There is your recording. There is your editing. There is the promotion, the publication. All of those things take time.
Yeah.
For instance, when you're talking about, say, you want A 30-minute podcast, you can count on spending at least an hour editing it. A general rule of thumb is however much finished audio, whatever the finished product is going to be, plan on spending at least twice that in order to get it to that point, because you're going to be going slower. You're going to be listening to things back. You're going to have to do the actual edit. You're going to have to then go back and listen to make sure you got it right. Sometimes, even if you're experienced at doing this, you didn't do it right. You got to Control Z, undo, go back and redo it, and then listen to it again. So now you're up to 2, 3, 4 times of listening to the same 5 seconds. So make sure it's something that you really and truly are passionate about. Now, that's not to deter anyone from doing a podcast or anything like that. But one thing that you can look at is if it's just something where, oh, well, we want a podcast for this or that and the other, you can partner with people. If it's purely about getting your name out there, you can partner with people. Like we've partnered with all of our guests to promote their business and to promote their stories. We do sponsorships for this podcast. So if you're looking for just purely, I want to get my business's name out there, but I don't know if I want to do the investment of time and equipment and everything else and experience. Experience is the big one. It takes a lot of experience to get good at it. You can get sponsorships for podcasts and get your name mentioned and not have to do all of the stuff that is involved in producing the podcast itself. Bottom line is, too, it's also easier to work with somebody who's already doing it. So that's also an option.
So we're accepting sponsors now, just so you know.
We always are. And the other thing too is if it's about you want to be, you're like, you know what, I've got a story, I'd like to tell it. You can always get in touch with us and we can talk some more about that.
Yeah, absolutely. So these are 2 of our questions, and I love these questions.
Oh boy, we're going to do these for ourselves.
Yeah, we're going to do these for ourselves, and I look forward to hearing the answers to these questions every time that we ask them. And we're not going to get rid of these. We're going to keep on asking these questions. Selfish reasons, really. But how would you say you define success?
Wow. So now I totally understand why everyone that we interview does that sigh right before. It is a big question. And I foolishly should have gone back and listened to what my answer was for episode 1. And then I could sound so much more intelligent and deep and philosophical than I am going to right now. I define success by the amount of margin that I have right now. And maybe that's a kind of a symptom of living through a pandemic. But I now look at how much margin do I have? And that is one of the metrics I use for success, because the more margin I have, the more ability I have to be a good husband, a good father, a good business owner, just in general a good person and good to myself and taking care of myself and the people around me. Because I'll take it, I'll put it to me. If I'm running at 100% of the time, I have no room for anything. I can only do the things that I'm doing now. And if something goes wrong or some opportunity comes up or there's something that's happening that I want to be able to do, I can't do it. So I don't want to be working at 100% all the time. Now success for me is how much margin can I afford to have? How many hours can I afford to not work so that I have opportunity to spend time as a family, to spend time going to the gym, which is something that I've started doing. How much of that do I have? Because then that's how I kind of measure success right now for me. How about you?
Well, it's funny you said that. I'm going to use the word time. I was thinking about it. It's all about time, like you said, especially being a business owner and an entrepreneur. Often we can, like they say, we can work 80, 100 hours a week, rather than working a 40-hour job. Yeah. And I think it's really about focusing on healthy time management. And I've not always been great at this. But when I say time, what that means is having the time to go to something at, my daughter's school and not having to feel guilty about it. Having the time to volunteer or do something in the community, having time to grieve, because we all go through times in our life where we lose loved ones, and having that space and that time to grieve as we know. So I think that a success is really about being able to carve out and have the space and the time to, like you said, to prioritize family, relationships and even self-care, and I think that, like I said, I don't always do the best at it, but that has really been something that I would say would define success for me is really learning how to have better time management so that you can do all those things.
Mm-hmm. Right on.
Mm-hmm.
Now the next question. I'm going to ask this one because you've jumped all over my question a couple times now. Stole my thunder, as it were. Who or what inspires you?
Well, I can't just say one thing. So I'm often inspired by, first of all, the underdog. I'm always inspired by the underdog. For those
now, are we talking about the cartoon?
No.
Okay, I just want to make sure.
Not the underdog, like the story of Rocky, the story of those people that have had to persevere through just so many challenges. Instead, when they should have or could have given up, they just persevere and they just remain steadfast. And I always inspired by hearing people's stories about perseverance, and just when looking from the outside, anyone would have given up. They just continue to put one step in front of the other. They continue just to take each day as it comes. And so I think I'm often inspired by those types of people, and always rooting for, the underdog. I'm inspired by you. I'm inspired by what you create and how creative you are. We are totally opposite. And I think that...
No, I had noticed.
Yes. So I'm inspired by the fact that we can balance each other. We are very opposite, but you bring parts to our business and our lives where I'm maybe a little weaker, So that inspires me, is the talents that you have, and just to see you use those talents. And I'm also inspired by our daughter. She is just an amazing artist, and just to watch her grow in her gift of this, just to watch her grow in this gift that she's been given. It's just kind of mind blowing to see how far she's come in that. And so she just, her work, her art inspires me. And I feel very thankful that I get to be her mom, and I get to be your wife.
Aww.
Got a little mushy there.
But you didn't cry, which I kind of feel like...
No.
Oh, no. I feel like I don't know if you went deep enough there.
Oh, please.
Well, you stole a couple of mine, at least one, because I was going to say our daughter as well. It's funny because I call myself a graphic artist, and then when I see what she's doing, and I'm like, I'm playing with crayons, and not even like the Crayola crayons. I'm talking like the big old crayons that you give to a toddler, like those kind of the crayons that are like the size of a magic marker.
Yeah.
That's what I'm working with compared to what she's doing. She is remarkable and is so detail oriented in what she does, and is exploring new medium and wanting to do like watercolors because I haven't done watercolors in a while. I'm like, okay.
She does a watercolor and it's amazing.
Yeah, like her first watercolor, and it's beautiful. And, even her pencil sketches and her paints and all of those are just remarkable to me, because I can't even conceive of how she conceives of it.
I know.
I don't understand. I would sit there forever trying to figure out where to draw the first line, and she just starts going.
Right.
And it reminds me of, and it's not surprising because she's been drawing since forever. Mm-hmm. I really should have gotten a hint of this when we went to Disney World a couple years ago, and we just so happened to be there when they were doing an art festival at Epcot Center, and like 75% of our day at Epcot was us kind of hanging out, killing time while she was doing these art classes.
Yeah.
And we were just like, she doesn't want to go on this ride or that ride or this ride. No, she wants to sit here because there is a Disney animator who's going to sit here and teach her how to draw characters and perspective and all this. And okay.
Yeah.
So it shouldn't be surprising, but it still shocks me sometimes when she shows me stuff that she's done. I'm like, oh my gosh, that is amazing. I don't have the words for it. Mm-hmm. So she's inspiring. Also, just how kind she is, mm-hmm. and how gentle she can be, mm-hmm. And just what a good human being mm-hmm. she is growing into. Mm-hmm. So that's inspiring to me. Mm-hmm. You are inspiring to me, of course, because you are very dedicated to what we do, and your energy in terms of getting stuff done and in being able to keep persevering, because in your end of the business, you hear a lot of no's. And that's tough. As someone who booked two bands, hearing no all the time is tough. And so that is inspiring to me, how you keep moving forward and you keep your energy and you keep your excitement about this business. And then also just seeing you get so good at this, because I figured you would be, but you even surpassed what I figured. And I already had a pretty lofty expectation of how good you would be at doing this. And I figured, oh, well, I'll carry the show. No, Kim carries the show. As it should be. As it should be. The bright, shining face of Keep It Local Maine should also be the bright, shining voice of Keep It Local Maine.
No, everybody always remarks on, Todd. Todd has such a great voice. Todd has such a great voice for podcasting. Like,
well,
what am I? What about me?
Yeah, and I've got a face meant for radio, so you
don't.
You have to balance that. You have to balance those things. And I've also been really inspired by a lot of the people that we've interviewed.
For sure.
Just hearing their stories and how they approach their work and their passion is very inspiring to me.
Yeah, for sure.
And that's all I got to say about that.
Yeah, that's good stuff. Yeah, it's definitely been a journey. And I'm excited to hear, lots more stories moving forward in the new year.
So, Kimberly, thank you for taking this time out to talk and coming in from the other room. And talking with me. I really appreciate that.
You're so welcome. Thank you for having me on the show, Todd.
And we'll have links to your. Oh wait, yeah, they're already in there. But this has been really interesting, and I'm looking forward to the next 51 episodes now.
For sure.
Because now we've embarked on year 2, season 2.
Season 2.
We've been renewed.
Yeah.
By popular demand. To do another season, so we're looking forward to that, and we've already got some pretty cool guests lined up, and you'll be able to stay tuned for those. And if you haven't subscribed, by all means, please do so.
Yes.
You can find us on pretty much any podcast streaming service. Just search for Keep It Local Maine Podcast, and I'm pretty sure you're going to find us. We are out there in many places. You can also follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube. All of those are in the show notes that you can click on those and subscribe to your heart's content. And we certainly appreciate everybody who has listened to the podcast, downloaded, and especially we are very grateful to all of our guests over the past year.
Thank you so much to all of our guests who have come on the show and allowed us to share their stories and have opened up. It has been just a journey, and it's just been such an amazing journey. And we hope to tell many stories to come and share many stories to come.
Yes. Okay, I'll edit that out. Yeah. I'm not going to edit that out. I'm not going to edit it out. You can try and tell me quietly, and I'm still not going to edit it out.